You're listening to the Everyday is a New Day show. Inspirational conversations with movers and shakers about moving forward and choosing to embrace a positive outlook. Now, here's your host, Kim O'Neill.
Welcome. My name's Kim O'Neill, and I'm a twice certified transformational coach, Reiki master, best-selling author, podcast host, former crime analyst, and big believer in learning from everything so you can confidently move forward in life. You can join us for the live shows most Wednesdays on Facebook at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And now, here's today's newest awesome guest. With that said, I'm super excited to share with you today's guest. You may have heard of her story because it's amazing. And if you haven't, you're going to be at some point beyond this interview. So let me go ahead and first welcome her to the show. Welcome, Rosie Aiello.
Hi, Kim. It's so good to see you through video.
Yes. So, okay. I realize, oh my goodness, I am seriously so excited for this. Again, I don't know why it took me so long to invite you to be on this show because your story is so amazing to me that I feel like everyone has to meet you and hear your story. So I'm just going to take a breath because I am so glad that you are here today. I'm going to read. Yeah, I so mean that. I'm just like, oh my goodness. So let me just say to everyone watching live, if you're with us live, first off, you're going to love this story. And if you have questions or anything that comes up for you through our conversation today, please type it in the chat. And, we'd love to respond to you in real time. So I just want to put that out there now. So, okay, Rosie, I'm going to go ahead and read parts of your bio just to get everyone up to speed with who you are, your background, and what we're going to talk about. And then we're going to get into the flow of our conversation. So,
Great.
after a 25-year relationship, Rosie Aiello engineered an international escape from the Middle East to save her daughter and herself from domestic violence. Stunned by PTSD and nearly mentally destroyed, she reinvented herself since arriving back in the United States, started her own business, and became a speaker, a best-selling author, and an international award-winning entrepreneur. With her Freedom Fulfillment Foundation system, Rosie now helps women worldwide reclaim their voice, worth, confidence, and courage so that they can rebuild and create a joyful, productive, and prosperous life that they deserve. And I have to also mention that now, together with her daughter, Sunny, they are both in the process of writing a joint memoir called 11 Hours to Freedom. Rosie also started a global movement to help 100 plus million women and their children free themselves from insidious abuse and to help them begin to believe that they deserve to be treated with kindness. Mm-hmm. She created the National Love is Kind Day and has an MBA in finance and certifications in NLP, life coaching, executive coaching, timeline dynamics. And that is just Rosie in a nutshell.
A little nut.
a little nut. Rosie, okay, so I know I said this to you before, but I just want to say it here too. Like, your story is amazing. What kinds of reactions do you get from people typically when you simply just tell them the part about you engineered an international escape from the Middle East with your daughter? Oh my goodness.
I usually get, your story should be a book or it should be a movie. And usually, or it should be both. I get that almost every single time. And to be honest with you, when I first started, even whether it was just in a casual conversation in somebody's home or whether I was speaking in my prior business and gave a little snapshot of my story, it was always that. And because I heard it so much, I thought, okay, well, maybe I should write a book. And I started to do it by myself, and I just wasn't ready. I don't think I was healed enough. And then a few years ago, my daughter, I don't know what happened, how it worked, but it's just like we got the idea that we should write it together because you do hear these stories a lot. I mean, mine's, different, obviously, but we'll hear it from the point of view of the wife, right? The wife. And I wanted people to understand how damaging this is to the family. And I wanted the point of view of the child. Now, the child, she is a child, but she's an adult. She was an adult when we left as well. And I wanted, so you get the point of view of a wife, a mother, and the child. And I don't think I don't know of any. There might be one or two, but as a general rule, you don't see that global view of what really happens and how destructive domestic violence is, domestic abuse, or narcissism, controlling behavior, however you want to encase it, can really be. And when you destroy the family, which is what's happening, you're impacting the children. So it goes generation to generation to generation. And that's when I want to stop.
Well, and you clearly are just like on this roll, because like it's like one thing after another. I think, was it last year that the National Love is Kind Day came out?
It was, yes. Last year. Yes, it was. I was just like, wow, it was incredible. It was incredible to get to say that, and then to have this movement. So we got heard and noticed in, I think it was in more than half the states, and in, I don't know, 8 countries now. I can't quite remember. But that's why when I say I want to impact 100 million women, it's kind of like a big, crazy number. But, you know, like this, how many people are going to hear it, right? So it's not like I'm going to actually personally talk to them or personally coach them or have them be in a group program, but they're going to hear the message.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel really strongly about this, and why I named the business, I named the Love is Kind. Everything was about that, because I thought, what was I missing? What did I want? I wanted kindness. I mean, I wanted somebody to treat me with kindness. And as I talk to other women, I talk to women all over the world now, it's just like, oh, really? I deserve to be treated with kindness? Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like a huge aha. So I thought, my gosh, women don't believe it. Now, I know what men are impacted by this. I'm going to just say straight up, I know that, but my market and who I talk to are women. So I will use that as examples. But it's just like, it's just earth shattering. And it breaks my heart that so many of us have had this experience.
Well, so I know you're in the process of writing a book, and it's going to be amazing to read. Will you share with us some of the story of what, so here you were in this abusive relationship, and like, how long did it take you to get to the point where you realized I'm not going to deal with this anymore, I want to leave? And then how long did it take you to engineer your escape?
Well, those are really, really good questions, and I hope the listeners will maybe put themselves in my position too if they're in it. So I kind of knew from the beginning that something was wrong, but I didn't know. I just thought I put all the blame on me. It's like, oh, if I can only do better, because of course he reinforced that by his behavior. He reinforced that. I didn't know, and I didn't know. I didn't know until one time when we were visiting the United States, because I lived in the Middle East. I lived in Saudi Arabia for about 12 years, and I lived in Lebanon for about 12 years. So almost 25 years in the Middle East. So I was.
And were you from there, or were you from the U.S.?
No, I'm a California girl.
Okay.
We met at Berkeley.
Okay.
And he's Lebanese. He's a Christian, but again, doesn't matter.
Okay.
So it was one time when we were coming back to visit, family and friends in the summer. I went into a bookstore. I love bookstores, and I walked in and I just saw titles, and I saw a title of a book, which turned out to not be it was called Walking on Eggshells, which turned out not to be the right book, but that title grabbed me. And it had a bibliography. And in that bibliography was another book, The Verbally Abusive Relationship by Patricia Evans. I mean, I love her dearly. We've become very, very close friends. I was married 18 years before I knew I was in an abusive relationship.
Oh my goodness.
Because I didn't have the vocabulary. I didn't know. I just knew. I could feel, you could feel something was wrong. And you blame yourself, and there's so much shame. So I just kept hiding it. And at that time, so 18 years, nobody knew what I was going through. Him sitting me down and lecturing me and screaming at me for 4 hours at a time sometimes.
Wow.
So nobody knew. And so when I got that and read that book, and I go, oh my, and I didn't want to believe it. It took me a long time to read the book because it was so painful. And then I wrote to 3 people. I wrote to my brother, and my 2 best friends in the United States. So then only 3 people knew about my life. And at that time, my daughter was not quite 18. In the Middle East, custody automatically goes to the father. There are no custody battles. There's no custody case. So there was no way in heaven I would have ever left without my daughter. I mean, I know there's another movie that's named that, not without my daughter. And I heard that when I first came, and I didn't know anything about it. It's a different storyline, but the same concept that you don't leave without your children. And so I made the choice of staying until she became major. And then by then she was at the university and she was starting to have a good time. So my brother, of course, was really anxious and wanted me to get out, but I couldn't do that. And I didn't know how. And I mean, so many things. But then when she was a junior at the American University of Beirut in Lebanon, she came to me and said, "Mom, you've got to get me away from my father." And I had prior, when I read that book and realized, I told her then, so she was like 16 at that time. She was 16. So I said, "Look, when you're ready to go, if you want to go or whatever, I'm not leaving you. I'm not leaving you." So she came to me. She was 20. She was 20 years old at the time. And I said, "Okay." Well, I really didn't say okay. I said, "You have only 1 year to graduate. Can't you wait 1 more year?" She's going, "No, Mom, I can't." But
Wow,
I mean, I was just thinking. So I mean, it really paid for that. But so in 4 months, I planned the escape.
Whoa.
So, and I did that because I mean, I had to think of so many things planning it, and I have to say that in my prior life, before I left the United States, I was in corporate finance in Silicon Valley, and my job was planning, strategic planning, budgeting, forecasting, everything. I coordinated the company. So I had some of these basic planning skills. You don't know what's going to come into your life. And I didn't know any of that, right? I'm not thinking, "Oh, I have these planning skills." I'm just doing, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in these relationships, you're I don't want to get too technical, but you'll understand. But I want your listeners to understand too what happens. So they stop this why can't I think kind of thing, because your amygdala, your that primitive brain, you are in constant fight, flight, or freeze. And I was mostly in freeze. And so what happens is when that is going off, firing off nonstop, the body is not expecting to be doing that. It can't react. And your prefrontal cortex, which is where you have your executive thinking, your planning, is basically shut down. It's like, you don't need me. You don't need to plan. You need to react. But you're in that thinking in that body, or all the neurons and hormones, everything that are just firing off. You can't think. But I was high function. I had good skills, and I had my brother do most of my thinking.
Oh,
he helped me, help me think, okay, planning and things like that. I was just, just a zombie, but I was very organized. I knew how to be organized. And when I was first reading that book, I was hide in my bathroom. I would hide in the guest bathroom, which is with my office, and lock the door and would read it. So imagine this, when I tell this story, I swear to God, I don't even know how I did it, but I start to take things from the house to pack up for shipment. So then I told 2 friends who were in Lebanon. They were both Americans. One was married to a Lebanese. One was married to a British diplomat. And so 5 people in 25 years knew of my issue. Only 5, because I was too embarrassed and ashamed to let anybody else know. And then, of course, when it came to the escape, you don't let anybody know. So I started to pack things for shipment. The first thing I took were the photo albums of my daughter. That was the first thing. And then my daughter said, "Oh, we got to take this." I go, "Oh my God, he's gonna notice." I ended up taking things off the walls because I knew what he knew, what he observed, and I just put something else on it. And I packed things in my bathroom, lock the door. Now, keep in mind as well that we have a live-in maid like everybody else does in the Middle East.
Okay.
So how I was able to hide her from her, I couldn't trust anybody. Literally, nobody knew except those people, those 5 people. I'm backwards here. 5 people, I'll get it right, yeah. So for 4 months, I boxed things up here and there. And you start to realize what's important, what isn't.
Did he ever start to notice or question or suspect anything?
No, he
Okay.
didn't. And then I would drive a box or 2. And then we lived in like a small condo building.
Okay.
And I had to make sure, when you're hiding, it's like, oh, why do you have a big box, Rosie? So I had to make sure nobody saw me. So I would do it at night and put it in the trunk of my car. And then when he was not around, then I would make an excuse to go down and deliver the box to my girlfriend, who was storing it in her house until I could ship things. I did that box by box for 4 months. Now, I told you, I'm skipping a lot.
Yeah, I believe it.
Written on the escape, and probably will get in the book. But anyway, so I continue to do that, and my daughter says, "Oh, well, there's something in the living room. It's on the table." I go, "No, you can't take the thing on the table. I mean, are you freaking kidding? You will notice that, and we did not take that thing, but we took some other things that were in the
like plain sight.
Yeah, like in the curio cabinet.
Okay. Wow.
But we knew he wouldn't notice it. Oh, the maid. Oh my God, you're just like, the whole time. So why 4 months? Because every summer we go to the United States as a family. And, I couldn't just, there's no internet that I could use at the time. And we had internet, but not for that. I couldn't go to a travel agent because the country's small. They might have known him. My ID says wife of. That's what it says, the wife of. So everybody would know. I couldn't just couldn't leave. And if he ever found out, forget it. We would have never been out of here. So the only way to get out was with him. I don't know if you guys know or have heard of the story by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
I haven't read it, but I'm a familiar. Yeah.
And I'm not going to compare my life to his. However, how did he escape? He escaped naked in a truckload of dead, naked bodies, like in plain sight. Right. So you do things that you have to do to get out.
Wow.
And that's what I did. I said, I planned everything. And you can't, like I say, on a scale of 0 to 10, with, 10 being, your highest stress level, mine was probably 110. I was so scared. So we go, we drive down to the airport, and as I'm going down, I'm going, I'm never going to see this again. This is the last time as I go down the windy road. I'm never going to see this again. And we had to go to Paris because there are no direct flights from Lebanon to the United States, period.
Okay.
We go to Paris. We get into the Air France plane. We spend a few days in Paris, which is in the memoir. I will skip that for now. And, my daughter's looking at me, and she's reading letters from her friends. That's another story why they knew that she was leaving. Oh my God. But, and she said to me, she goes, I'm never going to see my friends again, and my mom. It just breaks your heart.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of me is, he's reading his newspaper, and I'm going, he doesn't know what's going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
He doesn't know what's going to happen. And when we were in Paris, I was able to connect with my brother, which is because of the time difference, was no easy thing. And we changed how we were going to do the escape itself.
Oh, wow.
First I was going to be it at the hotel, and my brother was going to meet me. And then I changed it to the airport because I knew he doesn't like to create a scene. So you asked me, did he have any suspicion about anything? Well, only maybe slightly when we were leaving, because every time we go to the United States, for all the decades we went back home to the United States, I had one suitcase and I packed another one. I packed that one in a bigger one, and I would buy things in the United States and I come back with 2.
Okay.
But this time I had 2 super heavy suitcases. And he only asked me once. And he said, how come you have so many why is your suitcase so heavy or something? I go, oh, I just have a lot of gifts to give this time. But then we land, you go through customs. And because we're from Lebanon, we get chosen to have inspection.
No. Oh.
Exactly. Now, you think, so you have the same reaction as me. I mean, I'm in my own country now, but I didn't feel safe yet.
Right.
I still thought everything would unravel. I'm a planner. It's got to happen all the way. So they're opening things. You know what? Let me just say God must have been watching over me.
Right.
I don't know because, my daughter had her whole, because she forgot to box it up for shipment. She had her whole collection of DVDs. Like, oh my God, I never DVDs. I wonder, usually bring maybe one or two when we're on a trip, not like 50. I mean, all this stuff. I'm just like, just ready to lose it, but I can't. So then we go through the gates. I knew exactly where my brother was going to be. Exactly. I mean, everything was choreographed.
Good.
So my daughter and we all each had our own luggage carts.
Okay.
Because we had 2 pieces of luggage each this time. And so my daughter and I take our luggage carts and we go put them behind my brother. Now, my brother is not normally at the airport, but it's not unusual in the Middle East to have family show up. So he wasn't, suspicious even then. Then my brother walked over to him and said, Rosie needs some time away from you. I couldn't even have my brother tell him. I was so terrified. First of all, I was terrified to talk to him. And I was so terrified. I couldn't even have my brother because I still wasn't quite there yet as far as able to, because I lost my voice, right? As to share what I thought. Believe I was only able to have my brother tell him, Rosie's upset. She needs some time away from you. It took a lot of psychology. I had to work with a psychologist to be able to tell him, I'm leaving you. I mean, I could not say it. I was just too terrified.
So this was in the airport.
This was in the airport.
Okay.
And then, he, there was an incident with my daughter. This was probably a mistake. Now I know his thing. And I told her, don't let him know. She goes, why? I go, because I was still thinking, Kim, even though she was the one who said, get me away from him. I was still thinking, well, maybe they could have a father-daughter relationship.
Right.
That was still my earnest thought. So I didn't want her to be caught in it. So he asked to talk to her. I don't really remember what was said. She came back. We took our luggage carts, turned our backs, walked out, and left him standing in the middle of the busy airport.
Okay, so he didn't question? He didn't say anything when your brother said Rosie needs some time?
There was no time. He was caught off guard.
Okay.
Right? He had no clue what was going on. He had no clue. 4 months, as I'm planning this, and I mean, I didn't really take that much, but I still had boxes and boxes.
Right.
He had no clue, 0 clue. So I think he was just taken off guard. And so he just was just in total shock.
Okay. So then you leave with your brother and then what? At some point, was he coming saying, okay, Rosie, it's time to go back home or anything?
As soon as we got in the car. And the phone was just ringing. So my brother, I didn't answer the phone. And they called my daughter's phone, didn't answer the phone, called my brother. He didn't answer the phone, called my sister-in-law because we were going to my brother's house. Of course, she wasn't privy. I mean, of course, she knew what was happening, but she didn't know not to answer the phone. And she didn't know what his number was. I don't think she knew. So she picked up the phone and then she called my brother and said, no, he's going to call him. Of course, it was the months that, or the weeks that ensued, and even the first few months was like, oh, I love you. You are the love of my life. I've never loved anybody like you. The sweet, kind part.
The love bombing.
The love bombing, right? And of course, I knew it would be a switch. It was going to flip.
Uh-huh.
That switch was going to flip. Was a matter of time, and it took about 6 months before it flipped. And I knew, because he's not a U.S. citizen, he had given up his green card a long time prior. He couldn't stay in the United States more than 90 days. He's not allowed to.
So that's good. That worked in your favor.
Right. And because I wasn't a resident of California, where I'm from, and where we landed in San Francisco International Airport, I couldn't file for divorce. I could only file for legal separation.
Wow.
So within 3 days of landing, we met with 3 attorneys. We had done all the triage before I left. My brother has helped me. So all those meetings with lawyers within the first week of my arrival, I had set all those meetings up. I did all the interviews with the lawyers. I needed somebody who knew international law, or international divorce. It wasn't just, unfortunately, I had like the most expensive lawyer in the world, but I needed that. And so I did that. And so we were able to serve him that. And I knew where he was, and he was served that. But there's, of course, a lot more details, but that's in a nutshell.
Rosie, even just that much. I mean, that's like, wow. Like, for our audience, I see you there. We've got a comment from Sharon here. And I think it's mirroring what I'm feeling. Sharon says, absolutely incredible. I am breathless listening to this. Phenomenal strength beyond belief. You're such an incredible woman. Amazing story. Everyone needs to hear this. Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, Rosie, it's just an amazing story. And so I'm still feeling it in my body. I'm just like, I almost even want to like cry tears of joy for you.
Yeah, really. I just, it's funny. I think, when you need to do something, because, what I didn't share with you, and this is so important to the story, is in those 4 months, there was, even though I knew what I was doing was right, I was still riddled with so much guilt. When you're hiding something, and it's like, and I checked every box I possibly could to make this marriage work, right? But in the end, that when you're with somebody who's a narcissist and he has, what I'll say, he checks a lot of boxes of being a sociopath as well. So what I said to myself every single day, I must have said it hundreds of times throughout the day for these months, I said, my daughter and I deserve a happy and joyful life. I don't have to be a martyr. I have one life to live, and I am going to live it. And that's what just kept me going. I had to create this belief. And I didn't know about limiting beliefs. I didn't know about mantras. I didn't know about, talking to yourself. I didn't know any of that, as far as a strategy. I just did it to survive, to keep that strain. Because nobody in Lebanon believed me. I talked to plenty of people there. Nobody. I had no support. I had no support except my brother and Patricia Evans' group, her group. She has a private group. Those, women and my brother supported me. Otherwise, you can't. It's really hard to do this stuff by yourself.
I bet.
Inspiration, will create ideas for you.
Well, when you started, and there's more comments I'm just now seeing as well. As Sharon's, I just want to share this. So Sharon's absolutely saying, absolutely, you deserve happiness and love and understanding and respect. We all do. And that's, so when you're in this space of, you finally read Patricia's book and you've got her group support, and yet you're still not sharing with anybody else, what's happening. And I just can see how it could be so easy to fall back into the space of like, oh, but am I doing the right thing? And that self-doubt and questioning or rationalizing maybe some of what's happening and going, oh, well, no, I mean, he did this. Like we can find a way to make sense of everything. And was there ever a time where you're like, okay, I need to leave, but then it's like, no, that's not right for me. And like any of that or no, I guess.
Those are really good questions. I think, I was very, very unhappy. As you can imagine, I was just very unhappy. I had just become like a shell of who I was. I mean, you saw the body, but I mean, it was literally, nothing was really functioning inside. I was just going through the motions. And I think I had so much that I was in misery and suicidal. I remember one time when we were on This was Christmas Eve. We were Christmas Eve, and he had gotten really upset at my daughter, but I always am in the, I get it. I get it the most.
Okay.
And we're in our little car, and we're on the way to church. It's at nighttime. It's like 8:00 mass. So I remember my handle being on that door as we went down a certain corner and going down the hill. And I thought, I was like, I was ready to pull it. I was just ready to pull it. It's like, I can't take this anymore, because he was screaming from the moment we got into the car until we got to the church. He was screaming at us. But at that moment, we were only like 5 minutes in. I go, I can't take it. I just can't take it. And the only reason I didn't pull it was I didn't want my daughter alone with him. So, and having said that, it's just like, I just kept trying. I kept trying even a month before, I started planning the escape. I had to plus I had to keep up the thing like I'm trying to, like I couldn't totally withdraw from the relationship.
Right.
Notice. You got to be, if you ever, just don't do what I'm doing. You got to be always safe. You got to know what you're doing. Safety is always number one. So yeah, I kept vacillating, but it wasn't until my daughter said, okay, I'm ready. Cause I wasn't going to leave without her. I mean, the plan was, okay, when she graduates, we'll have a little bit more freedom. He even talked about going back to the United States, but it would have been maybe easier, but it's never easy. And even if though he said that, he would have changed his mind, because like he did everything else.
Right.
It's just, yeah, I kept trying. I had to keep trying for my own sanity.
Yeah.
If that even makes sense.
Well, and I imagine, or let me know if I'm wrong, but to some degree, that while you're in this space of like having to not be different around your husband, and yet knowing that you're engineering an escape, I imagine your daughter was a source of support and strength for you to help get you through, whether intentionally or not.
Well, yeah, we were. I mean, we were very close. It's like, and he would say, I can't remember his words right off the top of my head, but it was something like, you two are against me, or he knew how close we were.
Okay.
And so I had to be kind of careful on that. But yeah, we were the team. We were the team. And only later, when we were starting to write our memoir together, did I learn from her, because she was suicidal too. And she said, the only reason I didn't kill myself, Mom, is because I didn't want you alone with Papa.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
Wow.
So we lived for each other. I mean, if that even makes sense.
So Rosie, it's something, something I want to highlight, because I could just ask you more and more questions about the story aspect of all this for like an eternity, I think, is I just want to highlight your like fun, bubbly, lively personality. And Sharon in the comments commented and said the same thing, you're joyful. And I just want to acknowledge, because you definitely do not appear to be that shell of a person anymore. And so you're right. And I know you have love in your life again, a healthy love. And what was the healing journey for you? Like, what really helped you in getting to this place and being able to move forward and heal?
Well, remember that quote. I mean, the mantra, I'll call the mantra that I said to myself, that I deserve a happy and joyful life. So that was always just kind of like in the forefront of my mind. I've done a lot of healing. Okay. I've been in the United States now 10 years. And
good work.
I wasn't, thank you. Thank you. And I wasn't like this in the beginning. We came back, we had severe PTSD, depression, anxiety. I didn't even know what PTSD was, other than, kind of heard it from from veterans, about veterans. My daughter has complex PTSD, and I have to say she's still suffering a lot with that. My triggers are just pretty minor now, but I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I just kept moving. I kept saying, again, this is my life. Yeah. I wanted to live it. And many, many years of struggle, of course I got therapy, and I am blessed to have had really great therapists. And I value them, and I have learned so much from them. I've gone through so many different modalities to me, if it didn't hurt me, I would try it. I didn't really take drugs. I mean, I took an antidepressant for a while, but I didn't take any other drug. That's not me. But I tried, Reiki. I tried, all kinds of different, past life regression, everything that, was like all this to me was woohoo, and I didn't know what, I didn't know what it was. But I thought, okay, and if you just get a little bit here and a little bit there. And I tell you, I mean, now I've kind of like distilled, 10 years of my journey into what really I did to create the life that I have now. And even having, as you know, found the love of my life. When I first landed in the United States, I couldn't stand to look at a man. And when I was, on my computer researching, and, sometimes, I don't know, did they know I was single? I don't know. But, this advertisement for men would just kind of pop up. Oh. And I was like, I would have to get off the site. I couldn't stand a man's face.
Wow.
Hearing, when I heard it, I lived overseas for so long, I didn't hear the American accent that much. I heard it a little bit, but not much. So I'd be at the street corner and hearing an accent, I'm going, a man's voice.
Okay.
And I thought, didn't quite feel safe, even that.
Wow.
It's taken me a long time to feel safe with men.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so on that note of love and being able to now have a health, not be put off by hearing a man's voice or seeing a man, you're now actually in a relationship. That also tells me there had to be somewhere along the way a self-love aspect to this. Does that resonate for you?
Well, it's funny. I'm going to be honest. I even still this concept is like, I don't really know what it means to love myself.
Okay. No, I get you. I hear you.
A little bit bizarre, but for me, this is where I go for self-kindness, because I know how to be kind. And this is what I teach, how to be kind to yourself. And when I talk about being kind to yourself, this is not, floating in the life. Oh, I'm going to just be, this is like, you need to know what your values are.
Yes.
You need to know how to set healthy boundaries. You need to know how to ask confidently for what you want. That's being kind to yourself. It's about honoring who you are. And I'm really passionate about that when I talk about being kind to yourself. And I will say it now, and I'll hopefully say it at the end, is that my mantra is, you deserve to be treated with kindness. And it starts by being kind to yourself. And I have like 11 of those, because the book is called 11 Hours to Freedom. So I have 11 things of what the path that I took to get my freedom, and to really, another one is to receive kindness. One of them is learning how to receive kindness. If you're not used to it, it's like, you're getting me, right? If you've been abused, if you've been put down and diminished, and then someone starts being kind to you, in your brain doesn't know that. It just thinks it's different, and I don't know different, so I'm going to reject it. That little fight or flight thing is like, I'm out of here.
Okay, so I want to ask you, as you're in this, so to me, everything you just described to me falls into the category of self-love. So self-kindness, self-love, awesome. So when you're in that space of learning how to be kind to yourself, how to know what your values are, and then honor them, and stand up for yourself. Was there ever a time, as you're standing up for yourself, where you started to think, oh no, am I not being kind? And if not, please tell me. But did that ever come into play anywhere?
As I'm thinking, no.
Good. Okay, that's good.
Because there's a difference, you can honor yourself and stand up for who you are. I'm not talking about people being rude ever.
Right.
Okay. I'm not talking about being rude. And definitely I'm not talking about people being too nice, right? We get into that too nice syndrome.
Oh, love it. Keep talking.
Because when you fall into this too nice syndrome, I'll just, it's okay. They can just behave that way. He can say that, but he's not that way all the time. Or, she said that, but I don't have to say anything. I'll be the nice one. So what happens is that, and this is what, what all these things are distilled, in my marriage and these kinds of experiences, which do happen, is that you lose you.
Yes.
Every time you say, you're going to be nice or please someone else at your cost, you lose a part of you. So now all of your authentic self just gets buried in their requests, and you've allowed it. Now that sometimes hurts, and I get that, but that's the work. So it takes courage to be kind. At least the kind of kindness I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I support random acts of kindness, but that's not the kind of kindness I work with my clients and teach. I am looking for helping that woman to get back to who she really is, because she's been told she's stupid. I don't know anything. You can't do anything. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how much education you have. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It does not matter. And as a human being, you take it in as whoever you are. You take it in and you start to believe these. And so these beliefs have now become really bad habits. And now we've got to switch that out. It's like you can be kind, you can be nice, and honor who you are. So I don't accept being in toxic relationships. I have had, since I've been here in the United States, I've had abusive friendships, no longer. I've had abusive coaches.
Whoa.
Yes, right? I have not personally experienced, but I've talked to people who've had abusive doctors, lawyers, your own lawyer, right? You're going through a divorce with a narcissist, which no piece of cake. My attorney had been in practice for 50 years. She's called a super attorney because of her high level and everything. She said my ex-husband, dealing with him and the lawyers, was one of the top 10 most difficult cases she's ever had. So I have to be authentic in who I am. I'm not gonna bury myself. Now, I don't go boasting, but when I'm in a situation, I will listen to. I always watch people's behavior. Forget about what they say. In relationships, watch their behavior. That's what's key. So everyone has an off day. So is the behavior continuous or not? Right. So if somebody is continuously putting me down for whatever reason, I have to think about that. That doesn't feel good. You'll know in your body. That doesn't feel good. I don't have to be a martyr. I deserve a happy and joyful life. I want to live my life. Is this how I want to live my life? By shutting my mouth because I can't speak up and let that person put me down? That's not living my life. I didn't go for this freedom and fight for my freedom and my life and my daughter's life to not live it, to be now crushed again by somebody else. No, I'm never going to do that. Doesn't mean I don't fall in the trap sometimes, and it takes a while to figure it out, but I don't stay in it.
That's beautiful. I'm wondering, as you have gotten further along on your healing journey, have you noticed, have you experienced fewer types of people like that entering into your life?
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's exactly it, because now because it will be nipped in the bud before it starts.
Yes.
Because you will start to recognize it. And so, like, even with my husband, my ex-husband, when I'm here now, but he would say something, I'd be triggered and I would be out for weeks. I would spin out, I'd go into depression and stuff. So the trauma never goes away. It's in your body. How you react to it starts to diminish. So now you start to raise your signal.
Uh-oh, the video froze on my end. Rosie? Oh, no.
Awareness.
Oh, there we go. Rosie, the video.
What is healthy and what's not healthy?
Rosie, can you hear me? Oh, no.
Not engage anymore in those kinds of conversations.
Rosie, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
And I knew you froze and I just kept talking.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Because I've done this before and I could talk for them. I could take over your show, honey.
I believe it. So I wasn't sure. On my end, you froze, and so I kept talking.
Oh, well, good. Well, we'll see what we'll see what comes out at the end.
Okay. Thank you for continuing to talk, though. You know what? Let's just take another quick look here in the comments here. We've got a lot of really good comments coming through.
Let me see if I can.
And yeah, there should be a way for you to click to see them on your end as well.
Yeah, I can see them.
So we've got here Sharon saying, the one thing I believe we all need to learn in school at a young age is to get a clear understanding of our values and ways to set and keep boundaries in a kind way, just as Rosie is talking about. This would kill bullying of all kinds throughout our lives and allow all of us to know we deserve respect and kindness. And she's talking about clarity, bringing awareness. Absolutely. Yes. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Sharon. This is, I don't work with children, but gosh, we need to start them very young. So children know what is right and what isn't. And this is why on this movement, of love is kind, my mission is to help create kinder, intimate relationship, a kinder family, a kinder community, and a kinder world. And when children grow up in abusive relationships, that's their model.
Right.
They don't know. And so if somebody, this is why, and usually they'll end up being abused or an abuser unless they get help along the way or they have some awakening or some awareness, because that's what they know. It's what their brain knows. So of course that breaks my heart. And that's why I'm saying, women, you got to be the disruptors on this. And for them to understand that everybody deserves to be treated with kindness. And
so,
yeah, go ahead.
What did it? It sounds like the book, Patricia's book, was one of the first things you saw. Was that really the pivotal moment that helped bring the awareness to you, or was there something else that helped it sink in? That
I have to say it was her book, and then created, because she said it in all the right words. A verbally abusive man, and I was just crying through the whole book. I go, this is not my life. This is not my life. I couldn't believe it. So I had to go through the, can I fix it? Right. Kind of thing. You always want to say, oh, well, I'll be the different one. I can fix it. And realizing that you can't. So for me, her book I've read women and other books have been helpful to them. And of course, I have a whole library of books. I've read a ton of books.
And that just shows the beauty of sharing your story and helping other people who think that they're isolated and alone and not realizing that life can be different is how liberating that's got to be.
It is. And when we arrived in the United States on July 27th, and that's the day that has become Love is Kind Day. It's like our day of independence, the independence of being abused. And it's the day to celebrate, you deserve to be treated with kindness. And every year now I write, what my life has been. I tell you, Kim, when I write it, it's like, I can't believe what I've written. It's sort of like my bio. It's like, and this is the message I want to give women. When you think you can't get out, and I hope you are, but when you think, oh, my life will never be like Rosie's, and it won't be. As I look back, I could have never, ever predicted in a million years, especially when I was with my husband, or even in the beginning of my thing, that I would have my own business, that I would be a speaker, that I would be an award-winning entrepreneur, that I would co-write and be a bestseller author, that I'm telling my story on this. There's no way I could have predicted this. And I want you to the listeners to understand that your life can be better.
Yeah.
It can be. Yes, it takes work and effort and getting the right guidance. It does. I had a lot of support on the way. I fell up, I fell down. Did I say I fell up? Did I say that?
I think you did, and I nodded.
You know what? I probably did fell up. But, I get up, I fall down, still to this day, right? But now I have tools so I don't stay down as long, right? That's the key, is not staying down as long. And to know that you matter, you're worthy. You may not feel it yet, but you do. And it's a process. It really is a process, but your life is worth fighting for.
Absolutely. You said a big fat yes to yourself, to your future,
Mhm.
to your daughter's future. I
Yeah.
mean, and every time, like you said, when you fall back down, every time you choose to get back up and use your tools, what you've learned, that's
Yeah.
another yes to yourself, yes to yourself. So ultimately, it's not surprising that all these amazing things that you never imagined have fallen into place, because like that's what it requires in order for us to be to be able to have whatever success we want
Mm.
to have, or the direction we're moving towards
Mhm.
in, is by saying yes to ourselves so that we can open up to receiving it, like you were talking about earlier.
And I can get it, while you're like, I don't feel like doing that, or you're scared to do it, or I can't do it, all these doubts. And I've had them all. It's not like I don't have them. I still have them. I have to, like being here with you, we're being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's, it's just like taking that deep breath in and being vulnerable and still moving forward, knowing you're going to feel fear and still moving forward, knowing that you're normal, when you have these fears. I, I swear, when my therapist told me it's normal to feel like you're crazy when you're with somebody like that, I thought, oh my God, I'm normal. I mean, it was like the biggest aha to know that you're normal. Of course, you're going to go crazy when you're living with somebody like that. Of course, you're going to be afraid when somebody is stalking you or going after you, which she still does, by the way.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
I, it,
Just
well, and
casual. Like the book will never end. 'Cause I still like, but we're
well,
gonna make a land.
it's kind of like a career insurance or job insurance for you, because hey, as long as he wants to keep antagonizing, he gives you more and more to put out
More
there.
fodder for everything. But again, I don't put him in the forefront of my life. I have the most wonderful man in my life. I can't even believe it. I can't believe how much I love him. I can't believe how much he loves me. I can't believe how much kindness is in my life. I mean,
Oh,
it's just like, and I have never, ever experienced this. And well, I've been with him a few years now, but it was like, I'm 66. It's not like but I get to have this.
and that's absolutely, you get to have this, and that's part of the beauty of this, is that your life doesn't end until you say it ends, or until your physical body dies. Like, you're still
Yeah.
living, you're worthy of everything.
You're doing everything. You're never too old, right? You're never too old.
Rosie, I want to, so just real quickly, because did you grow up with any sort of abuse in your family prior to getting married?
Not really,
Okay.
I think my mom, you start to analyze everything. I think my mom probably was a little, verbally abusive, but God, nowhere near like my father, my ex-husband. But I do want to share, I think my father was super kind. My
Oh,
father was super kind. And I think, because I'm trying to make sense of it. And I think what happened, he was so kind, I didn't have the skills to honor myself. You know what
oh,
I'm saying? So he was
yes.
you see that? So this is what happens when you're too kind. Not that he was a pushover. I mean, I didn't but for me as a child, I didn't see how to sort of stand up for myself if, because I only knew how to be kind,
Right.
right? And
Well,
nice.
and that's why I wanted to ask about that, for anybody who's thinking, but I didn't grow up in an abusive, family, so I must not actually be in an abusive relationship, because that wouldn't make sense. Like, how would I do that? Like, how would I get myself into that, right? Or how? And anybody who might be like beating themselves up mentally for where they are because it doesn't make sense how that happened, it's okay. It doesn't have to make sense. The key
Right,
is like the awareness of
right.
what is going on, and knowing that you're normal. And I also just really want to highlight, oh my gosh, we're at the end of our time. But I really want to highlight, it really sounds like we all know this, the mindset piece, how you
Mhm.
just kept telling yourself, I deserve happiness, and all of that. Like, how key was that to help you in moving through all this?
I would have to say probably saved my life. I mean, it was major. Of course, I had the other support, but I had to do I swear I must have said it 100 times a day. It was the only thing because I was alone. Remember, I had nobody with me. I was in a foreign country. I had absolutely nobody with me to get through. And, here, of course, I had more support, but it's still mostly up to you. It's up to you. You need support. Let me tell you, you need support. I wouldn't advise doing it alone. Nothing alone.
Well, so you actually help women. Will you just, talk just a little bit about the work that you do with women in case anybody's hearing this and thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to reach out to Rosie and work with her?
Yeah, so you can go to theloveIsKindNetwork.com, theloveIsKindNetwork.com, and there's a gift there for you as well. And yeah, I've created these 11 steps because it's the journey that I took. So I know it. And through each one of those pieces, there is transformational work. First, you create the awareness, you do the work. And so it goes from really creating your vision to knowing those values are. I'm not going to go through all 11 steps.
Yeah, it's okay.
But we go through that. And so we can do it in a group basis or in a private, or you can do both. That's how I do my work.
Wonderful.
I'm on a mission to make sure every woman knows that she deserves to be treated with kindness, because when you are kind to yourself, that's the foundation for your empowerment.
You're a beautiful ambassador for the Love is Kind message and for helping empower other women and knowing that they deserve kindness and love and joy and all of that. And I lastly just want to ask you, I noticed that you always wear the color red. So I'm wearing a deep red myself today. Is there something behind why red is your color?
Yeah, I when I rebranded and everything, it's my power color.
Yeah,
it's a power color. It's a fire color. It's an empowering color. And yeah, everybody knows it, right? Because I had other interviews today. I just, I feel comfortable in it. I want women to own their power, to own who they are. No more hiding back. So watch out, everybody.
That's right. Watch out, everybody. And I love it. You look beautiful in red. And I'm so glad we finally did this. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
I think we have one more comment. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Sharon is saying, I love the message in the place of love where it all comes from. Love you, Rosie. Thank you for spreading the love. You are incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everybody. It's just been a real joy, and I appreciate you letting me share my story and keep reminding me how important it is that I do share it.
It is very important. And we all now get to have July 27th, National Love is Kind Day. That is just like the coolest thing ever. So
thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that is our show for today. I just want to remind you that every day is a new day. Wherever you are today, or maybe it's been the last 18 years, the last 2 years, last whatever it's been, wherever you've been does not have to be where you are tomorrow. And please just always remember that, and especially how important that mindset piece is. I mean, I just love that because although it takes practice. It takes practice getting into a healthy, supportive, positive mindset, loving, kind mindset to yourself. But it's something that's also as simple as that really can help get that ball rolling. So if you're in a space of just noticing that you're not where you want to be and your self-talk isn't as healthy or supportive, just start on that path and keep practicing, keep getting better and being kinder and kinder and kinder, and then start to notice how the rest of your life will start to shift and everything else can get easier from there as well. So have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Thank you again to Rosie for being here and sharing her awesome story. And we will see you all next week on the Every Day is a New Day show. Bye, everybody.
And that's today's show. So, what are you taking away? Let me know down in the comments wherever you listened or watched today's episode, and connect with me on Facebook on the Every Day is a New Day show and coaching page, or visit KimO'NeillCoaching.com for more info. Remember, every day is always a new day. Wherever you are today does not have to be where you are tomorrow. There is always hope, and you will always be amazing. I'll see you next time.